that are lingering on my mind as key innovations in my view. The first one, which I picked, is the paradigm shift in higher education, especially in ODEL, open and distance education and learning. There must be a paradigm shift because a lot of things are changing. In the next 3 years, some jobs will go. The presentation from Professor Pili, in the next few years, some jobs will disappear. Some students will leave our institution to continue the traditional way of teaching. Therefore, there must be a paradigm shift, completely paradigm shift in terms of technology, in terms of artificial intelligence, in terms of delivery modes we shall be using. So we need to reflect on this. The staffing we need, we may not need them. So there will be a change in higher learning institutions because of technology. Professor Pili showed us a bicycle. You remember the bicycle showed us also here. In 2012, there was an innovation in a bicycle which delivers the kids on its own to school, and they are eating their lunch on that bicycle. They are so relaxed on the bicycle. And now they are providing jobs that will not be there in the next few years, or where jobs will be reduced. So we must live with this reality. In countries like South Africa, in countries like Kenya, Ghana, when I move around, I see this is taking effect. People are having many jobs now, not just one job, because they reduce the workload you have, the way students are being taught, everything is changing. So paradigm shift in higher education is one of the innovations we need to embrace in distance education. And also, we have to stretch our minds to issues of how we can teach science-based subject based on distance model. Science-based based on distance model, because that's one of the paradigm shifts we need to consider. So paradigm shift in higher education is one issue. Professors move from where I stand, which we need to enhance in distance learning. Whether we like it or not, change is coming, and we have to prepare for change. And I'm happy as University of Zambia and other institutions that are here, they're already thinking ahead. And that issue is very critical. Another issue that emerged from the sessions I was chairing is the issue of to do with the staffing balancing. This is a big issue because if you look at the cost structures for higher education, they are most tilted towards staffing. Most of the budgets, most of the expenditure is towards staffing. In some cases, they go for as much as 80% of the money we raise in higher education and ODL. And therefore, we need to reflect on how we can do staff balancing between full-time staff and part-time staff, how we can manage the cost structures, how are we going to do the cost structures. I think this is very important, another innovation. Otherwise, we close the institution because you can't pay the staff. The student numbers are declining and we have a huge number of staff, how do you survive? That's very key, cost balancing. Managing our cost structures for institutions is very critical. And the presentation had, they tried to explain sometimes governments were the culprits. We resist the inevitable. We have so many staff and it's not sustainable, but we keep them on the payroll. We need to be realistic and start looking in our faces. For private institutions, mines, they lay off workers. As soon as the productivity goes low, the workers are laid off. So we have to manage the staffing in our institution for us to survive. This is key innovation we need to look at going forward. Staff balancing, learning from graduate school of business in our own context. They have managed the graduate school, Dr. Manga is here. They have managed very few staff, highly profitable. They're really a business school. If you look at the incomes they bring with the limited staff, relying on part-time staff, I'm not saying part-time staff are the best, but we need to manage the cost. Because the business, we need to compete, so we need to see how best we can manage that. The other issue, I think, which caught my eyes as we are having a conversation today is it looks like the success of distance learning will rely on different technologies. And today I've seen technologies I've never seen from Professor P. Onkoli, some technologies I've never seen from Dr. Zulu, Natalia. We have to embrace technology. For us to survive, we have to embrace technology. And global technology, because there's internationalization. We're in a global village now. If you blink your eye, you don't want to be technological advanced, you don't want to learn, you don't want to be deliberate, then you remain behind. So technology will be at the center of distance education. or open learning. I'm not an expert because I'm interchanging this term, just understanding. So technology is at the center. So we need to, there are people who don't even like to touch computers. You know in our institutions, huh? There are people who don't like computers, who don't like learning technologies. Technology is at the center of our distance learning, and therefore have to embrace it if you have to survive. If you don't embrace technology, you are going in the modern technology. So we need to embrace technology. Another issue which was very interesting to me is knowledge management. The model which Stanley and Mr. Obama was talking about knowledge management, my boss, Mr. Swaniso. I think we have lost knowledge management. As an institution, we don't know how to keep our documents. We can't trace our documents. We can't profile our successes. We can't profile our failures. We don't know where the strategic plan is. We don't know where the information is which makes us more successful. Knowledge management. One of the issues University of Zambia did, just to be visible, we did knowledge management. If today I want to see what we have done, I just go online, there's a package I can see. If I want to see what Professor Phil is doing, knowledge has to be managed. So maybe as an innovation, as we go back to our institutions, we need to look at the human resource and knowledge management. How are we managing that aspect? Because once we lose that, we are not good at that. You come to University of Zambia to get data on anything. It's a hard thing to do when I'm doing research. I go to central administration just to get data on staffing, data on students. You realize that our management systems are not good. I don't know how the institutions are, knowledge management. IDE has done a good job. When I go to the Ministry of Education, I'm sorry the government to say this, when I go to Teaching Council of Zambia, I'll get all the data I need. Sometimes I go to my own department planning, it's a challenge. Sometimes even the education statistical bulletin, we sometimes don't have it. It's 3-4 years behind. So knowledge management is very critical. For you to survive under order arrangements, you need to know how to manage the knowledge. So knowledge management is something that we make very strongly, and interchanging, how you can share the databases, which platforms you're going to use, how you harness knowledge. I think that's a very powerful presentation on knowledge management. Our success will come from there. We have to track what we're doing. Maybe as I end here, I will talk about many other things as I end. Another issue is about what Dr. Mony presented. I think this was very important to me. Success factors in distance education. How can you be different from others? Why offer the same program when it's being offered? How can you be different, business oriented? How can you be gurus in marketing? How can you put strategy at the center of what you do? I think that is very key for most of us. You may be shocked some institutions, they don't have a strategy, but their programs running. They don't even have targets. They don't know how they're going to grow. They don't know the competitive advantage they have. So I think what Dr. Mony presented, you need to have a strategy in whatever you are doing. If you ask the graduate school of business, they know how many students they want to have, how many PhDs they want to graduate, how they're going to reach out the students in recruitment. So we need strategies. So I think managing strategy in a competitive environment is very important. Thinking we are the best, that's very important. We are the best. We know we are competing, but sometimes we can just know that we are the best. But you have to think about the strategy. How do you manage this one? I think in the interest of time, Chair, these are the key lessons I learned from my session. There are other issues on audio, how to teach, for instance, mathematics, how to teach science subjects using audio. Those are very interesting things. But those are issues we need to have a conversation to improve on performance and efficiency. But in terms of innovations, I think I picked those high. Thank you very much.
Professor Masaiti, once he's in France, he's so passionate that not even hunger can make him stop talking. So, Prof, we're so grateful. The next one is Dr. Nibiru Friday. Correct. Dr. Nibiru Friday, IDE. The session that ran under in the boardroom. Who was returning over that session? Kindly come through. by so saying, then to meet the other session, the chair from the other session, kindly show by raising your hand so that we are sure you are here also. The other thing, excellent, so you'll be next. 5 minutes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our regular protocol has already been observed. Ours was looking at access and inclusivity in teaching, learning, open and distance education. So we actually had presentations bordering on open learning in secondary, as well as open learning in tertiary. So I'll just highlight some of the variants that we observed under the secondary and primary, which include finances, in terms of the learners are paying tuition and examination fees as they are not included in free education policy. The lack of materials for teaching and learning in open learning centers, and trained teachers in open and learning centers, as well as the lack of donor support in open and learning centers. So in this, we actually advocated for provision of support through CDF, where the learners that are receiving funding through skills can also gain academic support. And considering that all secondary schools are now offering tailored programs, if we had support through CDF funding and support the learners in open learning, we can actually certify them and they should be able to improve on their skills. The barriers and the solutions to ODL in tertiary, among them was socio-economic, technology and cultural factors, the cost of internet and lack of reliable internet as well as tools to use for ODL advancements, and the digital literacy in terms of the learners and the tutors that are offering ODL, since ODL is actually thriving on technology advancements, and also the cultural and linguistic barriers, considering that in Zambia we have about 72 ethnic groups and using multiple languages of 7. So there was a challenge of translating the materials from English to other 7 languages, which has actually become a cost. Apart from that, there was also cultural insensitivities in terms of respect and the views of others, as well as provision of infrastructure for adequate internet provision and equipment supporting ODL, which has actually become a challenge, especially for learners in hard-to-reach places. Among the solutions that were discussed in terms of innovations, the group is advocating for use of mobile phones, since mobile phones can be used even in areas where there isn't enough electricity, compared to the use of laptops and computers. Then engaging the community in terms of curriculum development, especially for audio programs that are being offered at centers, so that the programs produced are relevant to the community. Then on policy, it was discussed that government should actually engage other collaborators to provide internet connectivity, probably also just remove the cost in terms of accessing audio or internet equipment so that we can improve on audio accessibility. The Ministry of Education should also collaborate with the other stakeholders in terms of infrastructure projects, which should be inclusive to learners who are differently abled. Then advocate for data packages, which should be free or very cheap, would also enhance the access of audio programs. Then also the issue of the attitude, both by parents, for the learners who would want to graduate from secondary and wanted to go to tertiary. It was observed that many parents do not want their children to immediately go into audio programs, but would rather enroll them in universities. So that negative attitude is something that probably has to be considered so that we can educate the masses on how the importance of OTL and how it can actually cater for the learners that are not able to access education in the universities. Then the other issue that also arose was the lack of education in terms of educating the secondary school children, where we are saying guidance teachers need to actually do an extra mile in educating the learners on the importance of OTL. Because of this negative attitude, many of them do not want to actually enroll in OTL immediately after completing. The last one is on monitoring. We are advocating that after this symposium, we need to come up with implementation program, which should have the time frame, as well as monitoring and evaluation programs, so that we see whether this symposium is going to yield any results. Because afterwards, without any monitoring and evaluation mechanisms, we'll find that all the resolutions that we may pass as a house in terms of the discussions may not actually yield anything. Thank you, Chair.
Dr. Wendia, Prof, we got your daughter, just graduated with a doctorate. So you see, they are following in footsteps. Thank you so much. We get to our last group. By the way, Professor Masait was representing the group that was looking at ICTs. And she was looking at issues to do with teaching and learning, right? Inclusive and access downstairs. Now we go to another room that was looking at issues to do with governance, partnerships, quality assurance related issues. And that is going to be led by, welcome, is that Dr. Jubiri? Dr. Nandwe. Let's encourage her. Thank you. 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon once again. All the professors, the doctors, protocols observed. May I simply say good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. I stand here to present on the proceedings, some of the lessons that were drawn from the proceedings that we held on policy, governance, and partnerships in ODEL. And we're in another conference room. I picked 4 key issues from the discussions that we had, which I'm going to share in this place. The first lessons that we are picking from the presentations that we had were bordering on the issues to do with collaborations and partnerships in offering of open and distance education. From here, we drew lessons from two presentations that specifically spoke to issues to do with collaborations and partnerships and some of the successes that they have recorded in their institutions. From the successes recorded, we saw how they have been able to graduate huge numbers in addition to their mainstreams. So they were able to record huge numbers in programs from postgraduate, PhDs, and undergraduate programs. So we also saw how these collaborations have also provided a platform to work with international partners and universities. From this, we see that there is an aspect of international presence, besides the local partnerships that we are able to go into as institutions of learning. We could also venture into international collaborations, which are quite beneficial and also help to raise the image of the institutions. And from these, we've seen that through ODEL, institutions are able to make huge benefits in terms of finances, because we saw some presentations that we are trying to draw lessons from how ODEL has imaged to be a cash cow for certain institutions like the University of Zambia. Through the Institute of Distance Education, they'll be able to record the programs that are being offered in that particular department to be as one of the cash cows for the university, and also how they are able to manage these programs to ensure that they retain that status of being a cash cow. So we saw a number of strategies that we shared on how they managed to maintain that status, being alive to the fact that having recorded these successes, they also need to retain that position, because once you have achieved, you need to ensure that you do not move backwards. So that is one of the strategies, one of the challenges, that was indicated. After having recorded several strategies, it is a tendency that we tend to relax. So however, the observation here is that more strategies are needed to ensure that the institutions continue to strive for more and continue to innovate in the given areas that we are talking about. Other lessons that emerged from the sessions that we had were that education can take place from wherever. So we had a presentation which was trying to highlight on some of the innovations that have been implemented in Southern Province through a radio program. And we actually were given a preview to how that program runs. So that is just one of the examples that we can highlight in terms of innovations that institutions can take on with, in terms of how this ODL that we are talking about can be implemented and achieved in our institutions. So we saw a number of innovations in that particular, we saw that innovation and how it has worked out to impact communities, rural communities in Southern Province who are benefiting from that particular program. And going forward, we also leaned on some strategies that we can take on, which includes being alive to those programs that are more beneficial in terms of rewarding and in line with institutional resources, contributing to institutional resources, but also in terms of numbers, those programs that seem to be more on demand, if I should say. We have certain programs that we may be running which might not be as popular compared to other programs. So some of the strategies that were shared here that in some institutions, those programs that are seemingly not doing so well are actually reviewed, probably maybe repackaged so that they can also become popular compared to other programs. But in some instances where these programs don't seem to give us the results or the outcomes that we seek, some of these programs will be put aside. But however, when we are innovative in the way we look at the emerging needs of our people and how the needs of the current century demand from us, which is technology oriented, we could repackage these programs in a way that it speaks to the current needs of the students, and we find that these programs will still be made alive and will still be able to provide the outcomes that institutions seek. In terms of so basically, to wrap it up, those were the key takeaways that we had in our session, and I submit. Thank you, Chair.
She deserves a big applause. it gets to something very deep. There could be other issues that were shared, but perhaps were not voiced out. And you feel duty-bound to have it delineated so that it shall be said it was